Hi guys, and welcome back to another United podcast. Obviously, it's different this time because it's an international break, so we've had a time to recharge the batteries, and I'm happy to be joined with Alexei. But I mean, it's quite hard to obviously sit here and do this because we're not going to call off the podcast, stop what we're doing. But I mean, you look at it in Claude from Arsenal, well, previously Arsenal fan TV, passed away overnight yesterday. Absolutely tragic news. And me and Alexia both watch Arsenal Fan TV. It's probably one of the best channels out there to do with sport. And Claude was one of the main reasons behind his success. But we just wanted to have a say and, kind of share our views about it before we get into the international break because, I mean, it came back to this, and we've done a podcast on it before, Alexei, with Ahmed, with Cam, guys who are also very angry about what happened. Not angry at Claude, but angry at the fact that social media platforms aren't doing enough, and people aren't doing enough. They're not doing enough to almost fight back against, because you're always going to get people like that in the world who are just out to hate on, people like Claude who are pretty successful in what they do, loved by a certain majority of the fan base, but there's always those people who ruin it and completely dig into the ground. So yeah, it's I mean, condolences to his family, his friends, everyone who's been involved with him in the past. I mean, he seems like a great individual who I'd love to get on the podcast and get to know. But yeah, Alexi, on to you just before we go on.
Yeah, obviously our thoughts are with his family and his friends and everything. It is really, really sad, and it's like another reminder of like how toxic kind of Twitter culture can be. And obviously we saw it with Caroline Flack, last year, similar thing. She made a mistake or was judged to, and she got hounded out on social media, and then she lost her life because of it. And yeah, something needs to change. Social media companies have to do more.
And I mean, yeah, it isn't just social media companies that are to blame, but we'll have that conversation another day. And I mean, if you watch us guys, thanks obviously for tuning in. If you guys do watch us, you know that we don't stand for really any heavily agendas. It could come under bullying. If people try to completely push against someone else, suppress them, I don't agree with any of that, and we'll do our best to work hand in hand with, everyone who comes on this podcast, that their attitude is the same, to basically cut that out. So anyway, we're going to need to move on, because as I said, we had this podcast scheduled previously a few days ago. So yeah, straight on it. And Alexei, just before we get into it, it's going to just be a short one, guys. So I know people are tuning in at the moment, but if you guys could obviously like and subscribe, that'd be great. All the socials are in the bottom underneath Alexei, and basically we're only going to be on for a short period of time. Just quickly discuss all the nations, all the players who have taken part in international duty. And we're first of all going to start off with the home nations. And Alexei, we're going to start off where you're from, England, where Manchester United are from. So obviously we're going to have the most players, and overall there's 16 players overall that went on international duty over these 2-week period. It's a longer game, obviously, so there's going to be an international break roundup 2 coming up, and Alexei, I'm pretty sure you'll be joining me then as well to discuss the last round of games. But obviously, first of all, we're just going to discuss the games so far. And with England, they obviously got off to a great start, as usual. England always do in the qualifying groups. And I'll just start you off, Alexei. You're the professional during all this with England. Obviously, Dean Henderson, Harry Maguire, Luke Shaw, Jesse Lingard, and Marcus Rashford were called up. So yeah, that's just to get you started. Obviously, possibly start off with Marcus Rashford. The fact that he's not played a minute.
Well, it's interesting actually, isn't it? Because Marcus Rashford was called up to the England squad, and we all kind of panicked about it. But then he kind of ended up just. It seems he went there, had a bit of more kind of rehab for his injury, and then went home, which is really encouraging. So he's finally got a bit of time off. In terms, England's kind of routine wins, obviously impressive wins against San Marino and Albania in the sense of the scores were quite impressive, scoring 7 goals across 2 games. But they are obviously teams that England expect to win against, over the years with England. The problem's always been, England beat San Marino and these teams like 6-7-0 across the qualifiers, and it comes to a tournament and they freeze. But this time it feels a bit different. Very exciting team. And we saw in the San Marino game, we saw Jesse Lingard actually got man of the match, which I think we're all just really, really happy for Jesse Lingard. I think it's incredible. His kind of redemption, his resurgence, really encouraging. Obviously, with Dean Henderson, it's an interesting situation because I don't think no one seems to think anymore that Pickford will be the number 1 at the Euros. It's possible he still will be, but I think it's Henderson's spot to take because Pickford's been so prone to errors, and Henderson, he's always given a good showing, and then obviously it's difficult because he's not playing a lot, and then
that's what I was going to say, Alex. Just before you move on there, like Dean Henderson didn't even get a run out in those games, but hopefully he'll be playing in the harder fixtures because Nick Pope, against San Marino, Albania, you've not got much to do. I think, was it you that said that you could watch it through Zoom? And it's so true. Like you could literally, Nick Pope could have watched it through Zoom. It's one of those easy kind of games where they've all got part-time jobs as well, which is a shame. Probably not Albania, but especially San Marino. These guys are at the top of their game in England, and then you go to San Marino. So, to be honest, with England, I wouldn't say there's much to talk about with you. Have you got any objections to moving on? Because
I'll just say one more thing. I'll just say as well is Luke Shaw got really good assists for Kane and was just good in general. And it's great to see him back in England. I think it's been 3 years, but. Yeah, so as usual, England have got the normal pre-tournament optimism that will probably be ebbed away after about 2 games.
So moving on to other teams who are in the Euros and not obviously the World Cup because, it's such a strange scenario that we're playing World Cup qualifiers coming up to the Euros, which doesn't make any sense, but everything's all over the place at the moment. So we're going to move on to Scotland. Where I'm from, Glasgow. I watched the games, didn't watch any England games, so I kind of just left it to Alexi. He'll probably leave these to me as well, but I'm pretty sure you managed to catch a part of the Austria game, which was very frustrating overall. Probably a much harder game than England's 2 games. But Scott McTominay was man of the match. He was the best player in the park, obviously apart from Super John McGinn's overhead kick. That was completely out of nowhere. I was shocked.
I did see that goal, and that was how was he doing that?
It was kind of just out of nowhere, and he's got that in the locker, But credit where it's due. Scott McTominay came back into midfield, and he looked better because we seem to kind of be trusting the younger guys plus Grant Hanley at centre back. So it was Kieran Tierney, Grant Hanley, and Jack Hendry, who plays for Ostend in Belgium. He's on loan from Celtic. You probably wouldn't know him. Probably the guys tuning in won't know him either. And I think it is sensible to play McTominay further up because he's probably one of our best midfielders we've got, and he was great over the 2 games. Obviously, it was unfortunate to pick up 2 points in the opening 2 games, but for Scotland, and that's what happened. Scott McTominay's not going to be able to make an impact to winning games. Like, yes, he was great box to box, but kind of one of those things, and it's the same for Wales. Dan James is great for Wales. I don't know if you managed to catch any of the games, Alexi, for Wales. So I saw their 3-1 defeat to Belgium.
Yeah, I did. I didn't see the Belgium game. I did see the Mexico one because that's for some reason the only one Sky was showing on. I think it was Saturday night. Exciting one about this one is even though he's not actually played that much for United, Dylan Levitt played for Wales in the first half. which is pretty significant. It's a very strange situation where you've got someone who's obviously we know is going to be in the team eventually, but someone who's not broken through at United, but he's already kind of establishing himself at international level. And I guess that's the positive of, I know he's not there at the moment, but Ryan Giggs is usually the manager, so that helps him, I guess, doesn't it? And
See, but it's a bit of a strange one, Alexei, because I wouldn't say like whenever I watch the youth set up, Dylan Levitt as like one of the best players. You know, like comparing to the other guys, I don't know, he never seems to succeed and hit the expectations that I expected, that I thought. But yeah, I mean, I think it's absolutely amazing the fact he's getting a national experience whenever he's not even played for the first team. Really, I mean, I think he has get minutes, but nothing great.
he played in that. I think it was. Do you remember that game against Astana when Ollie?
Oh yeah,
started the children.
Yeah. And then yeah, I think that's basically covered the home nations, to be honest. But as I say, guys, we're just doing a quick roundup. Literally what it says in the tin, you know, that's the title, and a national roundup. We don't want to sit and drag it on. And then we go to Europe, first of all, because it wasn't a great showing in Europe, considering we had 16 people on international duty. A lot of the guys were either coming on as subs. I mean, Bruno Fernandes is now suspended, we'll go on to that. And then obviously David De Gea, who I'm going to start you off with, Alexei. What do you think about that scenario? Because it's a bit of a strange one.
Yeah, David De Gea and Spain is a very interesting kind of relationship, because even when David De Gea was in his peak, he wasn't really being picked for Spain that much, because he wasn't. The impression I got from it is he's not in that club of the Barca and Madrid players, and they're the kind of players who tend to run the kind of Spanish national team. But then when David De Gea did get a chance for Spain, obviously he struggled a bit in the World Cup. And it just feels like he's not always been as comfortable with Spain as he is with United for various reasons. I don't think he's as appreciated as he should be for Spain. I mean, there's been points a lot of the time where Kepa's been playing over him. Yeah, he was on the bench in Spain-Georgia, where they very nearly dropped points. They were 1 down for a while and then went to 1-1. They got an equaliser in like the 93rd minute, I think. But yeah, De Gea was on the bench for that. And it is sad because De Gea in the last few years, or like last nearly 10 years even, it's getting towards that time, has been like pretty much consistently the best goalkeeper around, you know. And it's just sad at international level, he's never been given the chance to flourish because of it's like the old guard club. It used to be like this with England, that you couldn't break in if you were someone from, you know, not one of the established clubs. And De Gea had that problem because, you know, Casillas was there and stuff, or, you know, whoever was, they always seem to find an excuse to pick someone over De Gea.
Yeah, it's one of those things though, like, he's not even really up against anyone at the moment as well. Like, even Kepa was getting picked over him at a point, and now it's Unai Simon, who is really not great for Atletico Bilbao. You'd actually struggle to say he's a top 5 keeper in the league. And David De Gea is getting benched over him. So yeah, it's a strange one, and to be honest, it's complete speculation. We won't know. I mean, it'll only be Spain really that know. And I mean, you look, then it's France, which was quite a frustrating time for France overall. In the first game, Martial finally coming back into the team, very excited for him, but then I was also not, because he's injury prone. He's coming in and out of the Man United team, never mind the France team. So, I mean, the first game 1-1 against Ukraine, Paul Pogba gets subbed on, along with Martial. Not enough time to make an impact. I mean, they really shouldn't have drawn 1-1 against Ukraine. That's a crazy result. It's a crazy 2 points to give away. And then Kazakhstan versus France, the early kickoff, the 2:00 kickoff, due to obviously time zones. Pogba and Martial started. They got the win. Martial got a good assist. I don't know if you've seen it, Alexei. It was, you know, a decent assist, a well worked goal. And then he got injured. Talk to me about Martial quickly. Just a short point about him, because it's
Well,
always seems to happen now.
it's interesting. Martial in France is a bit like De Gea in Spain. It's an interesting relationship. Obviously, he didn't go to the 2018 World Cup, which must drive him insane when he thinks about it, because he would have got a
It must
medal.
be absolutely soul destroying
Yeah,
for a player at his standard to,
that he didn't get to go. And yeah, I mean, I was really glad to see him back in the France team, getting an assist, doing well. It's really important. Obviously, he has like obscene amounts of competition for his place. I mean, it's just ridiculous. But yeah, it's sad because he played really well for France, and then obviously he picks up the injury. And I really hope it's not serious, because obviously Mason Greenwood pulled out of the under-21s as well.
Yeah.
Rashford got a bit of a problem. I mean, that's literally kind of our front three, isn't it? Like all injured.
and they're all out. And it's one of those things again. I keep saying this is one of those things because we're so used to it. We're so used to Martial, Rashford, and now Greenwood pulling up injuries constantly throughout the season. And it may be fatigue, it may be the fact we're in way too many games, that we're fighting in too many competitions. But yeah, I mean, I think there needs to be some form of kind of protection for the players as well who go on international duty. And one country that I would almost say done an amazing job with Donny van der Beek because was the Netherlands, because he obviously missed one of the major games, which was against Turkey, because he wasn't playing enough minutes for United due to an injury. And I'm pretty sure you watched the game. I didn't watch that game, but I'd like to hear kind of what happened. Obviously, I knew they beat Latvia 2-0, but it's not the same standard as Turkey. So you do need to take that into consideration, who you're playing, because there's not much to say against a team that are, no disrespect, obviously, but a team that aren't on the same wavelength as Netherlands, for example.
Yeah. Netherlands even, sorry, it's a really interesting situation. I think what kind of struck me is when I saw Van der Beek coming on, you look at who stood next to him. It's Ryan Babel. Ryan Babel plays for Holland still. The guy must be about 40. But yeah, like they're obviously it's good they beat Latvia. They needed to beat Latvia because obviously the first loss was really damaging. But yeah, Donny only got on for 11 minutes, which I guess he's been injured. So I guess it's kind of a good thing for us. I think in normal times he would be in the team, definitely, because you've got to think he was Ajax's best player last year or the year before, by far away their best player. So he was like the poster boy of Dutch football. But Dutch football is in a bit of an interesting state now because you've kind of got you've got your Van Dijks and you've got your, I guess, Van der Beeks, Memphis's and all that, who are kind of really kind of top level players. And then you've kind of got, like I was saying, like the Ryan Babels. It's a really interesting squad with Frank de Boer as manager. And Frank de Boer, there's no evidence to suggest that guy can manage a football team at all. He was terrible at
No, there isn't.
And I don't know why they've appointed him. But some also United-related news to Holland. Ruud van Nistelrooy is involved with them, and he'll be involved with them for the Euros. So hopefully, we see Holland do well with Donny and Ruud. But yeah, they won 2-0. Luke de Jong and Steven Bergwijn scored. I think, was Luke de Jong the guy who plays for Sevilla who ruined our Europa League dreams?
Yeah, so it was.
Happy memories.
He's about a veteran as well who's still kicking about. Probably 1 year more elite teams than I've even grown up. It's just not what you expect from the Netherlands, and you do think Donny van der Beek would have started over De Roon if he was fit. But yeah, the last player who played in the European World Cup qualifiers was Victor Lindelof for Sweden, who, I mean, you really can't complain about that guy. He kept 2 clean sheets against Kosovo, the 3-0 victory, and they won 1-0 against Georgia as well in the opening game. And I mean, Sweden, you know what you're getting with them. I'm pretty sure they keep the same defence. I'm sure it's Nordfeldt in goals, Mikael Lustig, ex-Celtic, Philip Palander, Rangers centre back, and is it Augustinson? He plays in Germany, and I'm sure it's Victor Lindelof in centre back. So I mean, there's not much change in their defensive back five. Just an absolute solid team. And you do look at that and you think, is Lindelof a good defender? Yes. He just thrives in different scenarios, different situations. Because, I mean, Kosovo scored a lot of goals. They're obviously not the best teams, but they do still have decent players. I'm sure they've got Rashika Muriki, who I'm sure was good for, was it Lille? I can't actually, it's kind of Selena as well, who plays in the Championship. He's not a bad player. He's actually one of the better players. Muriki plays for Lazio, sorry. So they've got established players. They usually do get a lot of goals, but they usually still do lose. So I think Sweden was quite a difficult team to come up against, especially with Alexander Isak and Ibrahimovic up front, who are always going to bang the goals in. And then, I mean, Alex, I'm pretty sure you've not got much to say about how Victor Lindelof did against Kosovo, are you? No,
I'm not going to do a Gary Neville style analysis, but he did go home due to personal reasons, didn't he? Yesterday, I think.
Yes, he did. So, I'm pretty sure you're right.
I mean, I might be completely wrong about all of this, but I think Ollie might be on a bit of a Ferguson job here. He's just kind of subtly pulling players out of squads and stuff, because so many of them have actually gone home now. And it's like, because Ferguson always used to do that, didn't he? He used to kind of go, Giggs, do you really need to play for Wales? And he'd go, oh, you've got an injury. Oh, you're going to have to come back.
See, I really love an international break, and maybe I am biased because Scotland, and it's probably one of the only big stadiums I get into, but Hampden is a great experience, and I get to see teams, for example, Spain, Germany, I wouldn't ever see Xavi, Iniesta, Fernando Torres. I've seen all those guys play because I've seen them against Scotland. And you get players like Andy Robertson and Scott McTominay and that, we really need them, and players like Victor Lindelof, and I mean, we'll go into Africa, we'll go into Eric Bailly soon. These guys are rocks for teams like, for countries, players who are relied on to show up, to perform. So yeah, it is one of those occasions where I absolutely love the international break, but I know most of the football population don't, because they're English and they get to see all the usual players.
I don't mind it too much. I just think Ollie has kind of he in his head, I think he's pulled these players out on purpose, because I think some of the fixtures aren't overly important. I mean, I think tournament for, like, when it comes to international tournaments like the Euros and the World Cup, I think it's brilliant. Like, it's kind of the best period of football.
Yeah, it's good.
And especially with the year we've all had, having the Euros this summer, when hopefully kind of pubs are open and everything, it's going to be brilliant.
And I mean, we're going to move on to Africa, which I didn't watch, but I'll just quickly round it up. You didn't watch it either. Eric Bailly missed out against Madagascar in the 1-1 draw, and but a strange one. I mean, Willy Bolly was in centre back. He wasn't even in the squad. He must have been injured again. Why would you take a player who's going to be injured? And then against Niger, they won 3-0, and he gets subbed off. So he's clearly not fit enough to play a full game, but they risk him. It's just, that is crazy to me. Against a team like Niger, not getting any established players compared to Ivory Coast, they should easily be beating them. It's just, it baffles me. Absolutely baffles me why they would do that. And obviously, Amad Diallo managed to get on, make his debut, which was great. I mean, I'm happy for him.
86th minute, got a few minutes. And yeah, I mean, like you said, I think this kind of relates to a broader point that I think the reason why a lot of people dislike these kind of international breaks is because you just see international teams just use players that just clearly aren't fit at all. And like you said, it's just absolutely ridiculous. All the travelling, and when they're playing against pretty poor opposition in terms of their quality and just everything, not even many professional players in some of the teams, and you're just watching them getting risked against these teams, and it's just like, it is so
Annoying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I mean, imagine if you're a club manager at home watching, you'd just be tearing your hair out, and that's probably why, like I said, I suspect Ollie has pulled some of them out. And yeah, I mean, especially like with Bailly, he gets injured so much, and if he did get injured in the game like that, it's just it just seems so. They just need to be more careful with the players. I think. Obviously, I'm not a manager. I don't know the in depth of it, but it just seems to me from the outside that international managers do take unnecessary risks with players when they just don't need to at all.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, we're going to move on. That's us basically covered every player who did play apart from one player, which is Bruno Fernandes. Alexia, obviously you want to talk about that, but just before we get into that, I mean, the break was a little bit unusual because the South American players, Alex Telles, Edison Cavani, I mean, Fred wouldn't have got picked. They didn't, obviously, they couldn't obviously travel to South America. It's a red zone for the UK. So COVID restrictions stopped that from happening, which probably a blessing in disguise for Edison Cavani not to travel and go to Uruguay, South America, because we need him. We need his fitness back, and we need him ready to go again. And along with Alex Telles, he's a vital member of the team. He's pushed on Luke Shaw, and we can't afford to let him get injured because Luke Shaw still needs to be, as we've discussed before, watched out for and almost wrapped up in cotton wool so he doesn't get injured again, because we've seen how long it took him for it to return back. And Alexia, I'll pass it over to you for Portugal. But guys, just if you didn't know, Portugal benched Bruno Fernandes in the opening game, which came as a bit of a shock to probably the world of football, but I could have guessed it because, Bruno Fernandes, he looks fatigued. He came on as a sub against Azerbaijan, still got man of the match, and the 1-0 win. And then going on to the next game against Serbia, they drew 2-2. Bruno Fernandes came off and got another booking from the previous game, which means that he's out. So he's back home in Manchester.
Yeah, see, that is absolutely brilliant because it means, because he got rested against Leicester, which I don't think was the best idea, but he did. He got rested against Leicester. He didn't start the game after that for Portugal. Now he's been sent home because of being suspended. It's brilliant. But what I wanted to touch on, I mean, obviously everyone's heard about this, but that Portugal goal that was over the line and didn't get given seems really, really crazy. I mean, Serbia, a pretty good team as well. Obviously, I know Scotland did beat them not too long ago, didn't they, to qualify for the Euros?
Yeah,
but they have got some pretty good players like Luka Jovic, Milinkovic, Savic, obviously, Mitrovic as well. Yeah. So this would have been a really big win for Portugal. Yet I don't understand. I don't get how this happened, but the ball went over the line and they didn't give the goal, and then Ronaldo didn't really take it particularly well, and he kind of walked off the pitch, which, okay, fair enough. But obviously the reason why they're so agitated about it is obviously it has an impact on qualifying and everything like that, but it can also have an impact, like how you do in these things can have an impact on how you're seeded in the tournament, because maybe if you do better in the qualifying or whatever, in the tournament, you might get an easier group. And obviously, for Ronaldo especially, Bruno as well, they've both got like really similar mentalities. It's just like win at all costs, kind of. They just love to win. And I'm really interested to see how Bruno and Ronaldo actually link up together in the Euros. I think it's going to be really interesting because we're going to see two big leaders. But while at United, Bruno's the main guy. For Portugal, obviously, it's Ronaldo. So it'll be interesting to see how that dynamic goes. But I think that Portugal team is really, really exciting side. And yeah, but it's crazy that in 2021, we've still got a Frank Lampard Germany situation with the ball going over the line and not being given. Like, what, 11 years on?
11 years.
Unbelievable. I see why they're so angry, because It's just basically the fact that they just scored a goal. They didn't get given the goal.
That day was quite funny. I mean, from a Scotland fan watching that on, I was like, especially Frank Lampard, I was like, you know, it's one of those moments where you're sitting and you're like, there is some United players in this squad, but
I can imagine a little smile appeared. Did it?
I want to watch what I'm saying, obviously, because probably these guys who are watching are English or probably support England, and yeah, I support Scotland, but I still want to see Luke Shaw and players like that do well at the moment. So, Alexia, I think that's us almost covered. I think it is us covered everything, sorry. And you obviously be joining me for the international roundup too. You're probably looking at the heading for this and thinking, why is it got a one next to it? Because the games aren't over. We've still got a third game, which we don't usually have, but we need to almost push in the next game because of COVID, and it's better to have the team together rather than, you know, spreading it out over, like, let's say maybe February, you go back for a few weeks with your home team, and then you're back on an international break again. So yeah, I mean, we'll obviously be back. The game everyone's waiting for, Scotland versus Faroe Islands, will be coming up. So
I'm not joking. I'm watching that. I'm genuinely gonna watch that.
As long as it's over 5 goals, then that's okay, because they are terrible. Like, I'm guaranteed that none of these people who are watching are from Faroe Islands, so we'll be okay. They've hardly got a population of, like, you know, bigger than Glasgow probably, so we should win, and it should be an absolute walkover.
Well, that's the thing. You know, you said you kind of had a little smile at that Frank Lampard thing in 2010. That was a moment that deeply broke my heart, and I think if the Faroe Islands do beat Scotland tomorrow, I think we should do like an instant match reaction, because I just kind of want to, you know, I just want to discuss the game. You know, I just want to
that won't happen.
I just want to see. I want to see how you're getting on. You know, just see how you would feel after Scotland losing to such a side.
We could probably play like the worst players in the Scottish League, and probably still beat them, because most of them are just joiners and workmen, and, you know, they're not actually footballers. I think they just do it as like a part-time job. So we definitely should beat them, and, you know, their keeper probably will have an absolute wonder game, because they'll have about 50 shots thrown at them. So yeah, I'm looking forward to that game. Obviously, I look forward to all the Scotland games. I don't know if McTominay will play. I don't know if we'll have a bit of rotation, but I think I hope we'll go with a strong team, so we can use that team then against England and the Euros, which will beat them then as well. So
that's going to be good.
We'll leave it there, guys. If you are still obviously tuned in, it's been a short one. It'd be great if you could leave a like in the video, subscribe to us, obviously follow us on the socials down below, and yeah, thanks guys for tuning in.